Good afternoon. My name is Natalie, and I'll be doing a speech on the media's beauty standard. The producers of media have uploaded this beauty standard that they believe sells or appeals to their audience for years, but they don't understand the negative effects that it has on young minds. So, as a young girl, I developed insecurities and a low self esteem when I was constantly comparing myself to the models in commercials and billboards and in magazines. And so, maybe not everyone has felt like this or exactly like this, but in one way or another, you, someone you know, or even your children will understand these negative feelings and effects from the media industry. And so, if we add regulations, it can give a new, well rounded perspective on these beauty standards, that there shouldn't be any. So, let's go into further depth of this problem. So, having these beauty standards can hurt a person's mentality, and promoting this beauty standard causes body dissatisfaction and self-esteem issues. And so on an article on post.ng, it states that many have developed serious mental health issues, identity issues, and even body dysmorphia, trying to emulate the body standards that are simply unattainable. This just means that um, everyone around the world, they're trying to copy these exact the figures of these models, when in reality they're not achievable goals because it's not real. And so an example would be I don't know if you remember watching like weight loss commercials on regular basic TV when we were younger, but I remember this one like around middle school, Jenny Craig. And I remember seeing like the transformation that they'd show. Here, I can show you right here in the corner. You can see how like it shows the different transformation. And I would always think like, oh my goodness, like what if I need this in the future or sooner than I think. And I'd be like, I don't want to have to go through like a whole uh, you know what I mean. And so but this comes from a lack of diversity in the media. And so when I say diversity, I don't mean just race, I mean age, height, size, things, and gender. Just in a college student journal by Sidesmore and Takoff, they stated that research revealed that exposure to images of physically attractive women have negative effects on women's self-evaluations. And so when we look at a person, we don't notice the blemishes, lines, and shadows as much as when they're isolated, like in a picture. But the only person that notices those flaws is themselves. They pay so much attention to those flaws and that's only because of our role models. They fit one specific look. And so we think if we don't look like that, then we're worthless. And so here is a graph that shows the diversity from 2016 to 2019. And I think it's crazy that you can see this first chart right here, this first number in fall 2016, there was only 6 plus size, 11 models that are over 50, and 8 that were transgender. And that's crazy to think that it's the 21st century. That was like 4 years ago, and those numbers are so small. I think that's just baffling to me, and it's just not fair. And so imagine what's been happening in the minds of people who want to become models but they can't because they didn't fit the criteria. So the people that are the most affected are young children and their mental health, present and future. As soon as you plant that seed in their brains that they're not good enough, then sorry, that they're not good enough, then they're just going to keep thinking that throughout their whole lives. A statistic from Dr. Gallivan, she's a psych professor from the Park Melrose Center. And so she states that over 80% of 10-year-olds are afraid of being fat. And around 30% of 10 to 14-year-olds are actively dieting. 10 to 14-year-olds are dieting. In what world does that make sense? Like, doesn't that make you sad? Like, kids start and then at that young age, because they're so afraid of what their peers are going to think of them, they start to withdraw from activities like going to school, going to the pool, because they don't want to show their bodies, and they don't want to, they're just feeling so self-conscious about it. And so the same from Sidesmore and Takov, they state that a woman's intense obsession with physical beauty leads to eating disorders, unhappiness with their body image, and low self-esteem. So they believe that appearance is all they have to offer the world. And of course, this day and age, it doesn't just apply to women, it applies to men as well, any gender really. And so this exposure to, and misleading this beauty imagery is linked with greater body dissatisfaction, worse mood, poor self-esteem, and increased risk for disordered eating behaviors. That's stated by and from the American Journal of Law and Medicine by McBride and other authors. It also states that over 50% of teen girls and 30% of teen boys use unhealthy weight control behaviors, such as skipping meals and taking laxatives. So now that you have a little more insight on the problem, how about a solution? So my idea is that there could be an organization created with different programs. And so this fictional beauty standard exists mainly because of the overuse of Photoshop to alter the body shape of models. And so the organization's main purpose would be to enable restrictions that that should be made within the industry to prevent Photoshop being used in a poor manner. And so this organization could also incorporate already existing solutions and push them, like making advertisements, commercials, and involve a more diverse group of models in shape, age, and height, or promoting healthy living and having projects that help those with eating disorders, low self-esteem, and poor body image. And so this solution fits the problem because the media would evolve and adapt the message that they have been displaying for decades, creating a positive and well-rounded perspective on beauty and eliminate the standard. And so young children wouldn't live in a world with a set beauty standard. The likelihood of dieting early, eating disorders, and body dissatisfaction would decline. And so the plan of action would include, of course, starting the organization and having volunteers such as local photographers, writers for articles, and partnering with small clothing brands and businesses. And step 2 would include promoting and pushing the goal of restrictions and making change within the media industry on social media with the advertisements, and developing the programs that promote healthy living with workouts and things like that. And then with time, of course, that organization will become more well known. And so like any other regulation, the Federal Communications Commission will research and propose a specific regulation and consider the public's comments before making a final rule. And then the cost, it would start off with around $800 for the standard filing fee for Form 1023 for the IRS in order to have recognition as an organization, said by nonprofithub.org. And then after it becomes down to after that, it just comes down to office space, equipment, money, instructors for the programs. And so I feel like it would cost like a start around like $2,000. And so looking into the future, if it were to be successful, my expected results would be if consumers can see that this beauty standard doesn't actually exist, the world will be filled without the standard, but with self-love, self-acceptance, and higher self-esteem and positive body image. And so I'd expect these results in about a decade, since the boulder has already been moving. And so this is just one specific solution, but with that in mind, hopefully this will be a reason to look more into it. So for decades, the media has given society a beauty standard, creating a lack of diversity within the industry and negatively affecting young minds. I explained some new techniques that could make a huge difference in the industry and in young people's lives. And then as the audience and the consumers of the products the media is trying to sell us, we can have an impact on if and how the media evolves. Use your voice and get involved. Help those who can't see that different forms of beauty exist. Thank you. Oh, stop.